guys, you're watching German Gyan. My name is Nidhi Jain and guys, today we are up with a new video and this new video is all about tackling German hardest topic, which we are trying to give you the concept to make it as easy as it can be. It's gonna be super duper interesting video because in this video actually we're gonna make the hardest concepts to the most easiest concepts just for you in this one video. Make sure to subscribe German Gyan if you are watching me for the very first time. Then my name is Nidhi Jain. I'm a CEO and the founder of German Gyan. German Gyan provides you online offline classes. We do provide teacher training program, exam preparation, brush-up classes and whatnot. So yeah, let's start the video because I'm very excited for this. We'll catch you in the end. Let's start.
Tackling difficult German concepts. Mastering German case systems with visual tools. The challenge is the four German cases, that is nominative, accusative, dative and genitive, often confuse learners due to article change and sentence structures. So the solution is use color-coded charts and sentence diagrams to see how nouns, articles and pronouns change depending on their functions. And you can also practice fill in the blanks with the correct case in context-rich sentences. For example, der Mann changes to den Mann in accusative, dem Mann in dative and des Mannes in genitive. And you can also create sentence maps like ich gebe dem Mann den Apfel, and you can use different colors for different articles. For example, for dem Mann you can use red and for den Apfel you can use green, and then you can write more sentences like this and can compare all the sentences to know the difference between all the cases. You can also use apps like Lingolia and books like Hammer's German Grammar, which offer great visuals. And also try YouTube animations for case explanations. Simplifying verb position rules with anchor words. So the challenge is that German sentence structures changes drastically between main clause, then subordinate clause and then question clauses, which confuses learners. So the solution to this is use anchor words like weil, das, wenn, obwohl to trigger automatic verb movement to the and in your mind. And you can also label them with sticky notes or highlight them during reading practices. For example, in subordinate clauses, conjugated verb goes to the and. For example, ich weiß, dass du müde bist. So always remember that in the subordinate clause the verb goes at the end, but in the main clause the verb is always at the second position. For example, heute gehe ich zur Arbeit. So for practice what you can do is write sentence puzzles and then rearrange the word order, and after that speak aloud while pointing to sentences elements for reinforcement. Tackling word gender confusions with associations and patterns. In this, the challenge is to determine whether a noun is masculine, feminine or neutral, or it just feels random. So the solution is memorize gender and learn patterns by noun endings and make categories in your notebook for feminine, masculine and neutral endings. For example, endings like ung, keit, het or tion, they all takes feminine. And endings like chen or lein, they always take neutral. And one more thing which you can do is whenever you are learning or reading a noun, just repeat aloud like die Zeitung and not just Zeitung. Understanding separable and inseparable verbs with motion practice. Now the challenge is that separable verbs actually split in two parts. The prefix goes at the end of the sentence and you have to conjugate the rest of the verb at the second place according to the subject. So this can be sometimes tricky for learners. And the solution to this is act them out physically to link motion and meaning. Then turn them into mini performances or charades during review. And whenever you are learning this topic, separable and inseparable verb, remember there are some verbs which looks like separable but they actually do not separate. For example, besuchen or bekommen. Remember they do not separate. For exercise, what you can do is create a verb log 5 separable and 5 inseparable verbs daily. Underline where the prefix lands in each sentence. Tackling long compound words by breaking them down. So the challenge is that words like Krankenhaus, Versicherungsgesellschaft are intimidating. Now to read these words, what you can do is break them down into building blocks and understand meaning of each word. And also practice chunking words aloud, means pause after each part. For example, you can take the same word which I just said, which is Krankenhausversicherungsgesellschaft. Now what you can do is just try to break these words into different parts. For example, Krankenhaus means hospital, this is the first part. Then Versicherungs is insurance and Gesellschaft means company. Now if you mix all these three words together, then your meaning will be hospital insurance company. And you can also use tools like Duden or Leo dictionary to analyze compound words. And you can also practice by making your own compound words using 2 to 3 simple nouns. But remember one thing, that you need to check that whether the verbs actually exist or not. So whenever you are making a word on your own, just check whether they exist or not, and you can use that or you can check that on Duden. Making adjective endings easier with adjective flowcharts. The challenge is that adjective endings changes with case, gender and article, which is very confusing. Now for this, what you can do is use flowcharts and color coded tables for patterns and practice with sentence templates to build automaticity. And remember, try to frame small sentences only in the beginning. And you must remember that adjective endings depends on article, gender and the case. For example, der gute Mann, this is the nominative case. Then einen guten Mann, this is unbestimmt accusative case. And mit dem guten Mann, this is again bestimmt dative case. For learning, you can practice this with real examples. For example, ein kalter Tag or einen kalten Tag. Getting a grip on modal verb through substitutions. Modal verb change sentence structures and require infinitives at the end. Now this structure is complicated because you use two verbs in a sentence and one always has to be in the infinitive form and second verb you have to conjugate at the second place. Now what you can do is swap out modals to see how the sentence shifts and use substitution drills to test different modals with the same base verb. For example, you can use a simple sentence, Ich lerne Deutsch. Now here the verb lernen is at the second place, which is conjugated according to the subject. Now try to frame the same sentence with a modal verb. For example, Ich muss Deutsch lernen. Now if you notice, muss is at the second place, which is conjugated according to the subject, and lernen is at the end of the sentence in the infinitive form. So what you can do is make tables with each modal and 3 example sentences and compare tone and intentions. For example, ich will lernen versus ich soll lernen. Demystifying reflexive verbs with role play. So reflexive verbs like sich freuen and sich waschen are hard to conceptualize. Now the solution to this is use mirror role play to act out actions with correct reflexive forms and point to yourself or others while saying the sentence aloud. For example, ich wasche mich. Here mich is the reflexive pronoun and the sentence translation is I wash myself. And another example can be interessiert sich, means he is interested. So here sich is the reflexive pronoun. For practice, you can write dialogues for morning routines using reflexive verbs or create a comic strip showing each actions. Handling passive voice by flipping the sentences. Passive voice in German uses werden plus participe zwei and it often feels unnatural. So the again solution is turn active sentences into passive for practice and look for patterns in article and verb ending. For example, an active sentence can be Die Mutter kocht das Essen. And passive of this sentence will be Das Essen wird von der Mutter gekocht. Now the only learning technique for this is make a table. For example, present tense for Präteritum, for past perfect like this. So in present tense the structure is wird gemacht, means you have to use the werden in the present tense and the action verb with the participe zwei. Now in the Präteritum tense you have to write wurde gemacht and in perfect you have to write ist gemacht worden. So better is make a table and then compare the sentences. And you can also highlight the change in subject focus for clarity. building listening comprehensions through slow audio and transcripts. Now, fast native German sounds overwhelming and unclear. To this, what you can do is start with slow audio plus transcripts, then build to normal speed. You can also repeat same audio 2 to 3 times using different listening strategies. Like you can first listen a video with a transcript in a slow speed, then you can just adjust the speed to normal and again listen it with the transcript, and in the third time you can just remove the transcript and then listen the video. You can also do shadowing, which is a good part, means you have to listen the audio and then speak along with the audio. It helps with rhythm, word flow and accent.
So guys, how was this video? I hope now you enjoyed watching it. Now I think your hard concepts are finally a very easier topic for you. We'll catch you on the next one. Till then, keep learning German with German Gyan.